All right, the Chiefs had an interesting draft. The Chiefs always have interesting drafts. 2 years ago, and they're still kind of paying dividends after their kind of all-time great draft from 2 seasons ago, where they got like seven, I think it was 8 players who were like legit contributors in that draft class. Everyone talks about the Tyreek Hill trade being, winning back-to-back Super Bowls after that. But I think a big part of it, too, was how good of a draft they had 2 years after it, getting so many, not just star players, and they did have stars. Trent McDuffie has been an all-pro. Carl Loftus has been great, but like some real good players. Last year wasn't as crazy about their draft. And this year, I think that there is some real good picks. I don't love every one of them, but I honestly don't have a single pick I'm like, I don't know about that. But let's get into it. And there's some that I actually think are really strong later on. I think this is closer to 2 years ago than last year for me personally. Although, again, can you expect what happened 2 years ago to happen again? The one that everyone is raving about is Xavier Worthy. And I almost wonder if there's a bit of a Christian Watson-esque feel to it, where anytime someone possesses these elite traits, people kind of just, definitely, you can easily fall in love with the prospect. That being said, he is not just someone who is fast, although I would certainly say that's his best attribute. And we have seen the Chiefs at times miss on wide receivers in the past, maybe overvaluing speed, but at the same time, we've also seen them, like Tyreek Hill, who was a 5th-round pick, ends up being a superstar with them, and a big part of his game is, of course, speed, although he does very much other stuff. Worthy can struggle with physicality and can also struggle essentially when he's not running go routes. So, and also didn't win a ton in college. So, while you definitely can get excited by the upside with Worthy, I do think the hype has gotten a little bit far. There is some developing that he needs. That's not necessarily to say that he will be that I'm not betting on him to succeed or anything like that. And if he does succeed, he could be awesome. And the Chiefs just need a deep threat. If that's all he is a deep threat, that's worth a 1st-round pick, quite frankly. So I still like the pick, don't get me wrong. I just think that I've seen some people talk about it as like an amazing pick. I've legitimately heard people say he's a Tyreek Hill replacement. Got a lot of work to do to be Tyreek Hill, but could be a really good player for them, for sure. It has the ceiling of a superstar, for sure. To set up the chart, what we're looking at, the first number you see, that's when the player was drafted. So Worthy was drafted at 29. Next number is when they were projected to go. So Worthy was projected to go 32. And then you have their name and their position. Kingsley Suamataia, I don't think how you say his name. I'm going to try every time. I'm going to miss some, just like the actual draft. There's hits or misses. There's hits or misses for me in my attempt to pronounce every name. But Kingsley is an interesting player. So out of BYU, his analytics are great, but again, like I'd hope that your analytics at BYU are good, right? Like you're not going up against a ton of competition. So if you're getting drafted that high, it makes sense. Falls to the 63, was projected to go 43, which is, to me, I thought 43 was high, but 63 was low. I'd probably have him somewhere in between those two. So while I understand why he fell, I do really like, what he can do. And again, is there a bit of a projection? For sure, but they might have just gotten a starting level tackle at pick 63, and they had no left tackle. So, like, to me, this is honestly the more exciting pick if I'm a Chiefs fan. Well, okay, no, Worthy is more exciting, but I think this might be what ends up being the more important selection for them, because I think he could be really, a really good player for them. We didn't have Jared Wiley, a tight end, who, here we go, is Travis Kelce's or his days numbered? No, I don't think that that's what this is. I think this is simply just a guy who is, hey, they like to use multiple tight ends. They'll use 3 tight end sets out there at times, They put tight ends in there. So getting a 6'6", 250 guy who can, use that, use those assets and use his physicality could really work. Definitely a guy who can block very well. And is someone who I think can make a tough catch as well, especially in traffic, which might be what you have to do as a tight end too. So yeah, another pick that I like, again, was kind of right around when he was supposed to be drafted. So fan of that. And then Jaden Hicks, who is another interesting player, as he's someone who was projected to go at 69, falls to 133, which is surprising, right? Someone who has good, the physical traits are good. He is someone who has good size for the safety position at 6'2". Like that's good. It's kind of a wonder why he fell. I almost wonder if, like, did he not test well? Did not interview well? We have seen the Chiefs in the past, when someone maybe doesn't interview well and things like that, take him anyway and kind of take that chance. So maybe it's that kind of situation. There were some issues on film as well. He did not make my top 10 defensive backs list for what it's worth, but I think someone is still, again, for 133, feels like a bit of a steal here. Kind of surprised that he fell as far as he did. Then we have Hunter Norzad, the center out of Penn State, who I really like. Again, another guy I'm surprised. So he kind of went around when he was supposed to go. He was projected to go 140. He went at 159. But it's another situation where I'm like, I don't really get why he was supposed to go so late, because well, here's why. I get it, I guess, but I think that it's a mistake. He's a 24-year-old who kind of is a one-year wonder, and that's concerning because he doesn't have the elite strength. You kind of wonder if it's essentially the thing where he just fully figured out the center position because he had the hands that because he was just had done it for longer than a lot of people he's going up against, maybe, for sure. But at the same time, the Chiefs are trying to win Super Bowls now. If he's NFL ready, it's not the end of the world. Again, for pick 159, it's a concern, but that's a concern why I wouldn't want to draft someone in round 1. It's not a concern why I wouldn't want to draft someone, here at this spot. So, again, a bit of a what's his ceiling type guy. Also, clearly the Chiefs have a center, but he can be a depth piece and a pretty solid one. You then have Kamel Hayden, who I wonder, again, every time I say this, anytime you look at a guy and see that they're in the 200s and they're a cornerback, I'm like, I bet you play special teams. That's just usually how this tends to go. And yeah, I do think that he is someone who will be a depth piece / special teams type guy. Also, it's coming off an injury, so that might have hurt his draft stock as well, which maybe isn't the worst thing in the world, because in terms of maybe that's what hurt his stock, and you can take a chance and hopefully get him better, because that does happen sometimes. An injury hurts a guy's draft stock, but they end up being better than you realize. So again, a fine pick, nothing crazy, nothing to write home about, but still one that you look at and say, okay, whatever, not moving the needle, I don't think, but still kind of hey, special teamers matter. Special teamers are important. So yeah, there's that. Finally, you have CJ Hansen, who, not exactly an analytics darling, for sure. Definitely is someone who, his run blocking is, not ideal. That's kind of something that is a bit of an issue. Played at Holy Cross, so also, not exactly sure what's happening here. Picked at 248, though. Some people liked him. I guess he showed enough flashes, is kind of the thing that people say about him, is he had enough consistency there. Is not someone I evaluated, but, it's kind of someone who I guess will occasionally show the flashes of, what could be a solid player that they're willing to take a chance on, see if they can coach up, perhaps. But yeah, I don't know if we're getting a ton there, but still, I mean, we're talking picks in the 200s. They did a lot of really good stuff with most of their picks. You had a certain amount of value that you were hoping to get coming out of this. They were able to get, I would say, at least that value, if not a little more than that value. So really good stuff here by Kansas City. Yeah, that's what I think about this. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.